We are live.
All right, guys, welcome to the Golf Podcast Live. I'm your host, Rafael Kalamat from Toronto, and I also have Michael Bleackley, who's in Vancouver right now. We've got a really special guest today. The gentleman's name is Mr. Kraig Kann, founder of Kann Advisory. You could reach him at Twitter at Kraig Kann. Former Golf Channel host and LPGA executive, now on SiriusXM. Kraig, welcome to the show.
Good to be with both of you guys again. So
yes,
I'm thrilled. I appreciate the repeat invite.
Absolutely.
Either you couldn't find anybody else, or I must have said something that made you want to bring me back. Thanks.
Well, we wanted to have you back after last time. You gave us a great soundbite that we had some fun with when Tiger played the Masters. So thank you for that. And
yeah, you're welcome. Again. I saw that on Twitter. Yeah,
good. And it's actually our only clip that's gone completely viral. There's about 15,000 hits on Twitter, and then throughout all the platforms, I think it hit about 70,000. So awesome.
That's great. That's good. I'll give you some bold predictions today too.
Awesome. Well, it's the Open, the heavily anticipated British Open. It's the 150th anniversary. It's going on from the 10th to the 17th. So we're just a few days away. And obviously lots of controversy with the LIV Golf Tour and who can or who can't play, specifically Greg Norman. And that's made the headlines. Let's start off by talking about the Open and your picks and your experience with the St. Andrews Golf Course, or any stories that you may have from Scotland.
Well, first off, that's more than a few questions right there, and a couple of sly comments you threw in as well to try to bait me. But I will say St. Andrews is a special place. I've been there during my time at the LPGA. When the ladies played there, Stacey Lewis was the winner. It's an awesome little town. It's obviously the home of golf. It's absolutely it's spectacular. I mean, it really is. It's fantastic, and I've enjoyed every bit of my time being there. As far as those that might actually win this week, I mean, I think what we've learned is it's pretty wide open.
Yeah.
It's a pretty wide open opportunity for people. You don't know who's going to get what end of the draw, and weather always plays a factor. I've been at multiple Open championships, and sometimes you get 2 or 3 seasons, frankly, in one week. So look, Jordan Spieth comes to my mind. Justin Thomas comes to my mind. John Rahm comes to my mind. If you're asking me, whether I think Tiger's a pretender or a contender, look, I'd love to see him walk across the bridge on Friday with an opportunity to play the weekend. Yeah. He's played a couple of majors this year. He's made the cut in both of those, and that's pretty spectacular, honestly.
It is.
So I hope he gets to do it this week. But as far as who's going to win, I mean, there's so many players. How could you say right now that Xander Schauffele wouldn't be one of your favorites based on what he has recently accomplished? How are you going to tell me that Scottie Scheffler, even though he hasn't played great of late, recent, that he might not be there? Patrick Cantlay is a guy who's pretty smooth. There are so many terrific players. I think it's a wide open, and I think that's the beauty of what we're going to see this week.
Yeah, it's an unscripted book here, and there's 25 players that have a chance, right, or more. Right? Anything could happen. It is a special course, and we're all pulling for Tiger to make the cut, and the contention would be outstanding. I watched a little bit of him this morning, and it looked pretty good. So we'll see.
It always looks good on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You never hear somebody say, I played a practice round with Tiger and I think he shot 83 today. Nobody ever says that. I mean, Justin Thomas said, he lit it up, and I've heard that before. But once they go off for real on Thursday, everything is a different story. All bets are off. You don't know what the weather's going to be. You don't know where the wind's coming from. And that's the beauty of the Open. My first was 1996. Tom Lehman won at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's. That's when I was at Golf Channel, right out of the chute, basically. And then I was there when Tiger won at Hoylake, and the ground was basically on fire. They had fire trucks there. If you remember how firm and fast and dry it was, that week. I mean, it was like Royal Scottsdale, for gosh sakes, so you don't know what you're going to get. And that's part of the charm. That's part of the beauty of it. I did the post-game shows over the weekend for the Scottish Open on SiriusXM. And one of the things that we asked our listeners was, what's your favorite thing about the Open Championship? And to me, it's when they say the champion golfer of the year, when they give out the gold medal at the end and the claret jug. It's a special thing. Other people called in and said it's the yellow leaderboards, that they see right there at the 18th. Yeah. And that's pretty cool too. It's the charm. There's so many great things about it. I love it.
Well, it's certainly the tradition of all of it. Saying 150th event is pretty incredible in itself, not only for golf, but in sport in general. So a lot of tradition, a lot of things that people enjoy, going to Scotland, going to St. Andrews. If you haven't done it already, I'm going to suggest to all our listeners and viewers to absolutely get out there, because it's a life-changing experience to stand out there in Scotland. Now, I haven't gone there myself. It's on my bucket list. Mike and I have been planning for 25 years, but we're going to get out there.
How's that working out for you?
We're going to go this year. We had our media passes. It's just with our schedules and everything that's going on in our personal lives, weren't able to make it out. I'm kicking myself, but maybe sometime, maybe in the next couple of years, we'll get out there. But like you mentioned, Tiger Woods, I threw out a tweet yesterday. People were asking me, where do you think he's going to finish? And I went downstairs. I looked at the dartboard. I looked at the number 1. And I aimed for it because I anticipate for him to finish. I'd love for him to get a top 10. Everybody would love to see him win another major. But I threw the dart and went to number 8. So that's my take on it. He's going to finish 8th. We don't know how well he's going to play. Obviously, like you mentioned as well, Kraig, he went out with JT and shot a 62. Now that's a practice round. He actually got it on the green on the 18th hole and was putting for birdie. That's lit up the social media and everybody's looking. But we tend to forget of all the amazing European players that are out there. Even a player like Olafable, or someone like Adrian Meronk, who came out of nowhere and got his first win over at the Irish Open a couple of weeks ago, who's had 6 top 10s this year alone. You got the older players. I don't know if Calcavecchia is playing, but Power's playing. You got some Japanese players that people haven't heard of, like Higa, Imahara. So keeping your eyes on the international and European players is going to be fun as well.
Well, look, to me, there's
what's your take on those European players?
Well,
also?
I don't have the field list in front of me. I didn't know you were going to go that deep down it, but I will say this. If you look at the world rankings and take a real good glance at that, of course, there's a lot of American players. There have been some Canadians that have been playing really good golf of late as well. But you have to look at the Europeans. You have to give them a strong thing. I said, what would be the best story to me, given everything that's gone on over the last few months? To me, Rory McIlroy being in the mix would be unbelievable. Yeah. If he was able to hold the claret jug on Sunday, given the voice that he's had, given the comments that he's made, standing up for the PGA Tour, kind of representing the game of golf, trying to give some sort of calm and some sort of peace and harmony to the game in this time of it's a battle for turf. It's a huge disruption. All of that. I think Rory being in the mix would be really special, and I hope that happens this week. As far as Tiger goes, you're picking him to finish top 10. There are a lot of factors there. Look, it's a flat walk. He's been talking about prepping for St. Andrews. A lot of people said, that he wasn't going to play at Augusta, myself included, way back when. I didn't think that would happen. For him to then go to the PGA and do what he did, also remarkable making the cut there. This is a different type of walk. Now, the question for me becomes, okay, is he fit because he's been playing golf and he's had more time to heal, or was the leg truly not ready in the first place and playing, not that he's playing every week or anything, has the playing taken its toll on him? I think you could go either way, but I will say this: Tiger doesn't really personally care what I think, and I know that he knows better about his own body than any of us do, and his team. Everybody, I can't imagine a soul who wouldn't want to see him having a great week and a great weekend and being in the mix. It would be spectacular to see that. No question about it.
Absolutely. You know, I'm so glad that I'm back because I don't know when I was cut off. So I don't even know what you guys heard or didn't hear, but I'm excited about the European players because we talk a lot about the American players. Mike and I obviously talk about Canadian players. We're thrilled about, you know, our guys playing as well. However, you know, if we look at guys like Paris and Floyd and even Bland, you never know who's going to play at the Open. The course is a link style course, very different. The green complexes are extremely hard to putt on and to place your ball. And so I think somebody with experience, now talking about Tiger, I'm thrilled to see Tiger because he's going to be playing on that experience. He's going to be playing not only with his knowledge of the game, but as a winner and somebody who really could make a difference. He's driving the ball really well. We know that much. We know that he's putting really well. Let's see how his iron game comes along. Because when he played at McManus, it looked like, it was like what he calls a hit and giggle. We went around and talked. Didn't seem that his irons were very sharp. However, he's Tiger Woods. So we all want to see him play well. But let's not forget about
if it boils down to
players.
ball striking, I think he'll be okay. To me, the greens are going to be slower. It's going to boil down to short game and putting. Does he have that type of control? Driving's not the premium at St. Andrews. It's going to be where you're going to put the ball in the green. The greens are big. He's going to have to putt very well. The speeds won't be like anything they see at Augusta or a US Open or anything like that. So it's a managing of the greens, getting a feel for the speed, the pace, and all of that. And not putting yourself in position to knock yourself out. If you want to talk about Europeans, to me, it starts and ends, as I said, with a couple of guys. Rory McIlroy and John Rahm are the two names that come to the top of my head right off the bat. You can go down the world ranking and keep going down. There's so many talented players. I mean, you don't know week to week to week to week. It's completely up in the air. This game is crazy. That's what makes it great right now. Yeah. But at the same time, this Open Championship, I think, is about wide open.
I have a dark horse. His name is Adrian Meronk. He's has 6 top 10s on the European Tour this year. He just won the Irish Open, and he played a lot of college golf in the U.S. Someone to think about. Obviously, Zalatoris and Spieth are my big picks for a top 10 finish. 2 great players, obviously. And Schauffele coming off that win, he got me putting him in all my pools now. So I got Schauffele. So 3
you're riding a hot player. A guy like Sam Burns has been playing really good golf. It'll be interesting to see what Scheffler does. Look, you can start pulling complete long shots out like you just did. And maybe that's the case, but I think it's going to ultimately boil down to some of the big names in the game. Yeah, I just spent the weekend with David Armitage, who was the head pro at Renaissance back in 2008 when it opened, where they played the Scottish Open. He's very big on Jordan Spieth. Thinks this is Spieth's time, and Spieth played pretty darn well over the last 4 days. Didn't get it done at the end, but nonetheless is in pretty good shape. You look at a guy like Justin Thomas, did not make the cut, goes there with some rest. I don't know. How about Tommy Fleetwood? I mean, Tommy Fleetwood's been playing good golf out of nowhere. You didn't even mention Morikawa. Obviously, you can talk about Zalatoris if you want to, and that's all great. It would be amazing if he did it again at another major. But if you want a dark horse for me, Justin Rose has been playing actually some decent golf of late.
Pretty good.
And he's got the poise, he's got the calm, all of that stuff to be able to do something. A guy like Victor Hovland, you look at him, short game is where he struggles a little bit, but he's so talented. Could this be his coming out party? I don't know. Tomorrow night, I've got Todd Hamilton on my show on SiriusXM. I'm really excited about that.
I was just going to bring him up. That's so funny. Yeah, Todd Hamilton. What a win that he had. He was sort of a dark horse.
Ben Curtis.
Out, and
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Curtis, absolutely.
The Open
It's
can give us one of these gifts of a lesser known player. And I think it comes down to hazard avoidance, short game creativity, and making putts. It's not the longest course in the circuit, so obviously the weather's a big factor on all of that. But really,
you mean like a guy like Matthew Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
I mean, there's another name, and that would obviously be back-to-back major championships and all of that. I don't know, man. It's going to be really, really interesting to see what happens. I'm excited for Thursday. That's the toughest part of a major week, is waiting and continually waiting. And it feels like Thursday takes forever to get there. And the other part of it is I read nothing, Rafael. I read nothing into what people say about practice rounds. Okay.
Right.
Practice rounds don't mean anything. Everybody preps differently. And by the time the thing starts on Thursday, lots is different.
Mike and I are both players. Mike's a top amateur player in BC. I've played mini tour golf 20 years ago, and I know what you mean. But it doesn't even mean that you're going to play well on the weekend if you're on fire on Thursday. I've had multiple rounds, low rounds in my life where I just blew up with a 80 some odd score on my third round. So, but that being said, there's a couple of players we're missing out on. I haven't heard Scheffler yet, and Scheffler is somebody to be reckoned with. He is, after all, the number one player in the world. We've got players like Garcia who have a tremendous amount of experience at the Open. You talked about Rose. I love that pick, Kraig. Rose, I remember when he was 17 years old and finished fourth at the Open. It was so great to see him. And then Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith is a player who we always have to consider is going to have a nice top 15 finish.
You do now.
He's one of the best iron strikers in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned Scheffler twice. Okay. And I
might have been cut out. Okay.
I would say this about Scheffler. Patience is going to be the big key for everybody in the field. And if you're talking about a guy who's got poise and who can get it done in that regard, Scheffler would definitely come back. When it comes to ball striking, certainly right there. So look, there's a lot of talent. We could sit here and talk about every name in the field, and I don't know that we're going to end up landing on it.
That Harrington could come out and surprise us. Like
no question,
anything can happen here. This is one arguably. I don't know if I like this tournament better than the Masters. Both of them get me the most excited out of the majors, and it really comes down to the weather. What happens? What kind of bad luck may a player face? And like you said, I can't wait for Thursday to start so we can get into it.
Look, Mike, Kraig, Netflix couldn't have planned a better drama. They're shooting this all year long with LIV going on, with Dustin Johnson and Phil Mickelson returning as well, and everything that's going on and culminating I feel like it's brewing right now to this point where we're watching the Open, and it being at St. Andrews makes it all that much more special. Let's pivot and talk about Greg Norman. Greg Norman was not allowed to come out to the celebrations this week. Your thoughts on Greg Norman not being allowed? I've got my opinion, certainly it being for Greg Norman, just because I feel like he's put in so many years in the game. He's won twice. He was a number one player in the world. He should have been allowed to go out to the celebrations. There's reasons why the R&A chose for him not to come out. However, let's get your takes, both of you guys. I'd love to hear this.
Well, mine's pretty simple. And it's ironic that, I spent all weekend, we were taking phone calls on this very topic on the show. And it was fairly split. People aren't waffling on this one. They're either really for it or they're really, really against it. I actually watched the Shark documentary last night. The 30 for 30.
Amazing.
I hadn't watched it yet, and I thought it was a terrific production. And I also thought at the same time, I had some empathy for his career. Has he been a confident player and a confident businessman? 100%. Has he been controversial and a lightning rod? 100%. Greg Norman was the needle before Tiger was the needle. Right? He was must watch.
Right.
He was must see, and he was must cover. He was must talk to when I was out there during my time at Golf Channel. And I always enjoyed that. I always enjoyed covering him, and I thought he's obviously a terrific talent. Did he cause some of those major mishaps himself, or was he snake bitten and a victim of some of the greatest shots that ever happened? Yes, he was. He also had opportunities and squandered leads that put him in that position to ultimately lose the way he did. Having said that, you said it. He has 2 Open Championship titles. This is the 150th Open Championship. Okay. This isn't the 87th. This isn't the 29th. This isn't the 113th. This is the 150th. It's at the birthplace of golf. It's at the home of golf. And to me, that means it's basically like the Hall of Fame in a way. And 150 years means you celebrate everybody that's left their mark on the game and the championship. And he has been a big part of the Open and a big part of the Claret Jug. And I see no reason why he shouldn't have been allowed at that champions dinner. You want to keep him out of the field and deny him the special invite? That's fine. But if I was there amidst the living, breathing winners of the Claret Jug and the Open Championship over those years, and I was at that dinner and they were going to take a photograph of all of those people that were a part of that, I know that I personally, if I had a Claret Jug title to my name, I would want Greg Norman in that photograph. And I think he deserves the opportunity to be in that picture. That doesn't mean everybody needs to interview him. That doesn't mean they have to give him the stage to deliver a big speech that night. But I do think that he should have been allowed to be there. Everything else, people can have their own opinions about LIV and all of the other stuff. But this is about the Open. This is about the history of a great major championship.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think he should be there. He is a big part of golf. I mean, I'm 48, so Greg Norman, Nicholas Trevino. I grew up watching these guys, and you know, prior to the tournament, going back a few weeks now, they said we are. I'm paraphrasing slightly, but they insinuated they are an Open Championship, and they're not going to ban the LIV players. So, and then here they go and lock out Greg Norman from, like you said, the 150th celebration. Like,
Right.
I think it's awful. And it indirectly might throw fire onto LIV, and people might garner more support for it. I don't know, but I think Greg should be part of it. And you mentioned the picture. It's a shame that he won't be in something like that. So,
oh, it's certainly supposed to be the most diplomatic Open. It's the Open, and so the R&A are putting themselves above the game and above the values of the game. I don't think by any means he would be doing press conferences or trying to push LIV. He understands his place in the game and what's happening. It's a big disruption in the game, but it's making everyone better. The PGA Tour has really stepped up for its players and is promising more money. They came up with a really original idea to play 8 tournaments with a purse of $20 million per tournament. Where did all this money come from? I don't know. However, it's better for the game. It seems like they've copied it. They could have been a little bit more original. Mike and I have gone back and forth with this, with a concept that's a little bit easier for players to grasp, because they're obviously playing too much. So what do you think, Kraig, about the new setup that they've presented? Jay Monahan made it very clear that it's going to be $20 million per event.
Well, first of all, I'll say this. I spent 18 years at Golf Channel covering the PGA Tour. And I spent some years before that covering the PGA Tour and the PGA Tour champions. I'm not a player. I haven't been in player meetings. I haven't been on an advisory board. I've spent time with commissioners of the PGA Tour, and I've interviewed several players, but I'm not one of them. What I do know is that the PGA Tour does, in fact, give players a voice by having them on player committees and by giving them an opportunity to share and say what they think. At the end of the day, the PGA Tour, their job is to provide opportunities, playing opportunities, and financial opportunities for its membership. And the PGA Tour constantly adapts and changes. You know, we had almost a decade of a wraparound schedule. Now we're going back to a full calendar schedule. And so you could go back in time to the ABA and the NBA. You could go back in time to the NFL and what it faced with the USFL. You could go to Indy, car racing, and kart. And there have been battles before in other sports. It's never happened in golf. So business, sometimes everybody runs a business differently. There are different concepts, and sometimes businesses that stay the same get lapped and they get passed. By no means am I suggesting that the PGA Tour is going to get lapped or passed. I believe it's the best tour in the world. I have for a long time, and I've been a supporter and will continue to be a supporter of the PGA Tour because I believe that they do have the best interest in mind of the players. Could there be things that could be tweaked? Sure. Name a business where there aren't things that could be tweaked for the betterment of membership. The LIV Golf experience right now, that tour is a handful of events. All right. There may be more. The PGA Tour requires you to play 15 events to keep a card. You can play 15 events and go play the LIV Tour and maybe do both. Now, the PGA Tour is saying that you can't do that. That will all be settled some way or another. Where this will all shake out, none of us knows. But all I would say is it a unique format, 54 holes? Yep. Shotgun start, unique? Sure. Do I think world ranking points should be a given for a 54-hole tournament? No. Do I think that, when Brooks Koepka's in the field, that's one thing. When Chase Koepka's in the field, that's another. If all of a sudden another, we'll call it country, decided to come pull the very top players from the NBA out of the NBA and put them over into their league, that would be a game changer. The other aspect of it is if they took the 7th, 8th, and 9th man on the bench on the rotation out of every NBA team and paid them max contract money or big NBA dollar money and brought them over there, it would be a major disruption to the NBA. I believe the PGA Tour has the strength and the voices among many of the players to withstand all of this. If it boils down to money, Jay Monahan's already said, can't compete like that. But they can continue to deliver great events. They can continue to do great things for communities, which is what the PGA Tour has been all about for years. They can continue to do great things for charity. And I always will believe that they'll have the players' best interests in mind. At the same time, everything is a business. Everything is a business. And we don't always get to agree with all the decisions that are made. I think you want independent contractor status and the ability to have that freedom, fine. But then there's if you're going to be on the take for that, then you got to give something as well. So everything is a compromise. And I just think that that's what needs to happen. But you're not going to get me to jump off the PGA Tour bandwagon. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Mike had the opportunity to be at Pumpkin Ridge, and maybe he could share his opinions and thoughts about how he was there. But lots to unpack there, Kraig. I'm a huge fan of the PGA Tour. I'm going to cover golf wherever the players are, whether it's LPGA, PGA, LIV Golf Tour, European Tour, Canadian Tour, Latin American Tour. There's a lot of great golf out there, and I love watching players play really good golf. As far as official world golf rankings are concerned, they've got enough players out there that they could create some sort of index system. I know it's 54 holes. However, give them half the points. There's enough good players there for them to keep their rankings. It's going to hurt them in the long run trying to get into the majors. So I think there is some compromise that might be available to do there. And your analogy on team sports for NBA, now there's team ownership there. These guys are independent contractors, a little bit different. If you were to pull a player out of a NHL, NBA, MLB, it would be crazy. Lots of lawsuits flying around, right?
Well, this will definitely end up in court. We know that.
Yes.
And ultimately it will shake itself out. I was at the Players Championship when COVID hit and the world basically changed. And if you go back to that, Jay Monahan in his press conference was talking about a new influx of money coming from a new TV deal, and things were all great. Just ask yourself this: if you're the PGA Tour and you're going to a major corporation, Fortune 100 company, asking them for X amount of millions of dollars to come on board and sponsor an event, and the players want more money, that's great. Then you got to play that tour. But it's going to be awfully hard for, a commissioner to be able to go asking for more money to raise purses when other players are going to defect, if you will. And I think that's going to be a challenge. So look, there's a lot smarter people than me. And I'm pretty strong on my opinion, that I'm a PGA Tour supporter. Competition is good in a lot of different things. So I'm not saying that there can't be something else. I'm just saying it's got to be figured out. And it's, to me, a little bit disappointing that some of the comments have come out from various players about, 1 minute they're this way and another minute they're that way. And look, I've taken so many phone calls on SiriusXM shows where, people have talked about, look, if you were working at a bank and you were making X and some other bank came and said, we want to pay you 12 times that and sign you to a contract to play X number of years, would you think about it? Well, of course you would think about it, but where did you find your platform? Who gave you your start? Is there a way to compromise? And that's all that I would say. It's such a touchy subject, to be honest.
It is. There's so many variables in play with everything that's going on. I just feel like it's strict. It's certainly unfair for the media at large and people on social media to point their finger at all these players and their families and all their teams. We're talking about thousands of people who are involved in LIV in some shape or form, who made a decision to tie that to human atrocities, to things that have happened on the political side of the spectrum. It's just not fair for those players to go through the scrutiny, because if we go down a few rabbit holes and we talk about which companies are involved with who and where, in what country, whether it's China, whether it's Saudi Arabia, and how people are involved, we're going to find a lot of garbage. We're going to find a lot of things that we don't like. And it seems like it's going down that road. I love the sport for its purity. I love watching golf, and it's a disruption in the game. Mike, tell us about your experience over at Pumpkin Ridge.
For one, it is a very complex topic, and I agree the competition is good. There's a lot of points, that a lot of the media is trying to hold these golfers up on a high moral pedestal, and you could argue about some hypocritical points on that. But let me just recap my experience quickly at the LIV event. Drove down from Vancouver last Tuesday and got there just in time for the Pat Perez, Koepka, and Patrick Reed press conference, which it was entertaining, I'll say. From my perspective, they were definitely throwing a few firm questions, but in terms of the production, it exceeded my expectations. I didn't know what to expect. I know it's their second event, so there's got to be a lot of improvements that will happen in time, but they took care of the media center really well. I've been in several, everyone was well fed, and for one, the course was a big star.
You would bring up the food.
Well, sometimes you're left wanting more, put it that way. But I would have paid for every plate of food I ate happily. So that side was good. They had a unique cast of characters in the media room. Like, there's a lot of podcasters. They had the country club adjacent boys who were quite entertaining. Kraig, I'm sure you saw some of their comedic interviews. It was an overall good experience, I find. Having produced music events myself in the past, I get a sense of what occurs. And it looked like they were rushing to get everything ready for last minute, and that's not unlike any other event. The media village, the fan village, It looked like there's a lot of interactive games, putting, some lessons, some coaching, lots of food trucks, and all of that. The 48-person shotgun, I think it was fun in a way that it wrapped up, collectively, and they did the champagne finish. So it was different than other PGA events. So like, a little bit more excitement. The concert afterwards, I didn't stick around for that, but a lot of people didn't seem to. So I think if they're trying to grow the entertainment side of this, that they may need to look at different avenues to keep people around. And maybe I look at that as maybe a chance to expose the game to some new faces who may not come to a golf event. So there's just some thoughts I had on it. Overall, like I said, it surpassed my expectations.
If you're looking to go watch Dustin Johnson play and Brooks Koepka play and some of the others that are of name quality for sure on that tour, and you live in Portland and you live in Oregon and you don't have a chance to see professional golf zip through your community very often, you might want to go out and watch it. And that's a bit of a different topic. Rafa, I'm not ever going to dive into the political aspect of it. I think everybody could do that. It doesn't end up doing anybody any good, frankly. But again, this will all shake itself out somehow, some way. At the end of the day, the PGA Tour, I think, would tell you that they're not about just putting on tournaments. They want to deliver experiences. They want to deliver something that's memorable for their fans and for their charities and for their sponsors. I know when I was a chief communications officer of the LPGA, that's what we talked about. Sure, we wanted to provide more playing opportunities for the ladies. That's what Mike Wan was able to do. That's one of his greatest fingerprints that he left on the game, the women's game, was more tournaments, more playing opportunities for members. That's great. We also focused heavily on providing not just a tournament on a schedule, but a true happening and experience. If LIV provides something that gives a great experience and the PGA Tour can benefit from that, see a little something different, maybe change up something. Okay. I'm sure they'll do that. But I don't think ultimately you're going to have young kids that are going to grow up dreaming of saying that I want to play on the LIV Tour. I just don't know that happens. But again, this is how many months have we've been talking about speculation of it. Now it's here and all of that. I do feel sorry for one person. I feel sorry for the one person commissioned to be the author of the 2022 Year in Golf Almanac and Review. I don't even know where you begin because it has been a crazy year in golf. That being said, there is so much young talent and so many great players on the PGA Tour that are coming up and that we're watching compete each and every week. It's special. It's awesome. So there you go. Next topic.
If you're just jumping in right now, we're talking to Kraig Kann from Kraig Kann Advisory. Kraig, you talk to a lot of corporate people, sponsors, individuals who want to grow their businesses. So let's jump on that topic for a little bit. One of the things I like seeing on your Twitter feeds or social media is something you do called Kraig's List. And you talked about 3 things to understand about media. And you had hear and growing, shapes and presents, always, always. Do you want to expand on that? Talk to us about what that means to you. And I guess for the critics is to consider great storytellers and what that means for moving forward.
Well, the media is always going to be there. I mean, you're not going to be able to escape it. So if you're a leader in an organization, the media is going to ask you questions. Your job is to build your brand. Your job is to put out your message. And most importantly, your job is to know your story. What is the story of your organization? And if you can have not just employees that work there, but ambassadors of that story, ambassadors of that brand, you grow greater awareness. You build a better culture within. That's what I talk to a lot of companies about. I'll bring somebody up in front of the room and I'll say, hey, listen, this is your audience right here. Tell everybody who you are and why we should care. And a lot of people freak out about that question. They don't necessarily have an answer because they haven't thought about what their story is or what their value is. And so I do it for a couple of reasons. One, to point that out, that we don't think enough about our value or what our story is or what we can give back. And the second reason I do it is because the minute I bring one person up there in front of a room of however many it might be, everybody else in the room says, uh-oh, he's bringing me up next. He might call on me. And then, and I've got all of their attention. Thus, the book I wrote, Can You Get Our Attention, which you can pick up on Amazon, by the way. Having said that, the media is always going to be there. They're always going to get the last word. They just are, because no matter what you say, somebody else is going to write that. Now, if you're being interviewed on the other side, to me, the questions don't matter. The questions really, there's no such thing as a bad question, but there's a really bad answer. Okay. Right. And so you need to go there with your message. What are the things that they need to hear from me? What are the things that I need to share with my audience? And that's the important thing for me when it comes to media.
That's a great answer. that's a great answer. Yeah. Well, I want to circle back to the Open, Mike. Mike, do you have any picks? I'm looking at the pairings on Thursday, and I can't help but notice at 12:40 p.m. we've got Phil Mickelson going out with Jon Rahm and Padraig Harrington. What a great pairing! I hopefully we could get some coverage, and it's a little bit of a mix there, and it, with Rahm being who he is and being outspoken, and Harrington always speaking his mind, and Phil being Phil. Phil seems to be, he's got a new look. He's got the stubble going on. He's got the dark shades. He's wearing black. I love the new look. He almost seems like the villain out there, but he's obviously not.
He's big into the navy blue shirt and the navy blue pants, and sometimes it's the black, but now he's got the sunglasses and he's got the beard. So it's a different Phil all the way around. And he doesn't have as many logos either.
Yeah, shocking how some of the LIV guys don't have as many logos, I guess.
Exactly.
I'd like to see, I think Matsuyama could be involved in the weekend. Rory, as Kraig pointed out, I think would be a spectacular story. And when Rory is at the top of his game, that swing is just magical. I'm going to throw out a dark horse of Tyrrell Hatton. I guess
it's a great name. That one was on my tongue earlier. There you go.
I just admire, I run a little hot sometimes as a golfer, so I can appreciate, when you see a tour player of his caliber express themselves, we'll say it that way. He's got a really comedic anger reel that's gone around, the internet a few times. But yeah, I'm a fan of his. I wouldn't mind seeing him come the end of the weekend. I don't know what his odds are right now, but it's probably would pay out pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to wrap things up, guys. I know, Kraig, you got to go, but let's leave this on a funny note. Let's talk about the most memorable Open moment that you could think of. I'm going to start off so you could just ponder a little bit. For me, it's almost obvious, Jean Van de Velde at Carnoustie on the 18th hole with the lead, hitting it off the grandstands, hitting it into the burn, hitting it out of the fescue, making it into the playoff, taking off his shoes, going in there completely lost and everybody wondering what he's doing. That's probably one of my most memorable, funniest, and most,
probably answered that for both of us.
Yeah. So when I say
if that ball goes into the grandstand, it's a completely different situation. It's the ricochet that did him in.
The ricochet, absolutely.
It's sad. Yeah. But he handled it so well, and now that's all we think about.
Yeah. He would have been forgotten about had he won that tournament, like Ben Curtis, and like one of those players that came out of nowhere and won. But because of that crazy mishap, he's going to be talked about for the end of golf.
I was seeing some highlights the other night. I forgot that even Justin Leonard, he was in the playoff afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that completely. And he's making his resurgence on the Champions Tour. We love the guys on the Champions Tour. Obviously, we had Cook on. We had Labritz on. We talked to a couple of the guys, so it's really great to talk about the Champions Tour. That's a whole nother show. So any thoughts on any moments during the Open that you guys
Well,
could think
I
of?
can't give you all the details of this story, but I'll just leave you with this. In 1996,
Perfect.
when I went to the Open Championship, it was my first time covering it at Royal Lytham in St. Anne's, and I was standing there at the 18th green, and people don't remember this, but right there at the very end, a streaker ran right across 18. Now, it's not like that's never happened before, but I'd never seen it before, and it was right there in front of all of us. And I won't tell you what the lady said behind me about the gentleman who decided to do it, but it was a pretty humorous line that I've never forgotten, and I'll always remember my first Open Championship and that memory. Having said that, you think about John Daly, you think about some of the winners that they've had over the years, and the beauty of it is that a Ben Curtis can win. The beauty of it is that a Todd Hamilton can have the week of his life, and it might happen this week as well. As I said, if a Rory McIlroy wins, it'd be great. If Tiger Woods is in contention, that'd be super special too. So we'll all find out together. I really appreciate you guys having me, by the way.
Thank you, Kraig. Appreciate you taking the time to come back and kick it around with us. Your insight is always valuable, and best of luck with business, and we'll follow you online.
Thanks very much. CannAdvisory.com. I appreciate that.
Excellent. All right. Well, for Kraig Kann, Michael Bleackley, I'm Rafael Kalamat. You've been listening to the Golf Podcast Live. Tune in this week as we have some special guests live from St. Andrews.